Assalamu alaikum, candidates and pre-candidates. Welcome to today's lesson. And this week we were able to talk about the use of indirect and direct speech. Use of indirect and direct speech, part 1, whereby we were able to explain the difference between indirect and direct speech. I was able to take you through some sentences in which you are able to see where we use the speech marks and where we don't use the speech marks. Remember, we said indirect speech is where we use the speech marks, and indirect speech we do not use the speech marks, also known as quotation marks. I gave you an example of different sentences. We saw some of the words that do change when you are changing a sentence from direct to indirect speech. We stated example of those words. I think you still remember them. There is a table I gave you. You are expected to go through those words, go through those sentences, and see those words that change, so that it cannot bring confusion when you are changing the sentence from direct to indirect speech. Today there is a last part. I also want to see some of tenses that do change if you are changing a sentence from direct to indirect speech. So feel welcome. The first part we have we'll just tackle the sentences that change. We looked up at the words, so today I want to take you through the tenses that change from indirect to when you are changing direct to indirect speech. The first one, we have a present simple tense. Present simple tense. Example in a sentence, we sing aloud. We sing aloud. So if you want to change that sentence to indirect speech, it is present simple tense changes to past simple tense. Present simple tense will change to past simple tense, and the sentence will be, we sing aloud. That is direct speech. In indirect speech, they sang aloud. We sing aloud, they sang aloud. So you can see indirect speech, I've used the speech marks. And then in the indirect speech, there is no use of the speech marks. The word sing changes to sang. The word sing changes to sang. So we sing aloud, they sang aloud. The second sentence, present continuous tense. Present continuous tense. In the indirect speech is the past continuous. Past continuous. Example in a sentence, we are singing aloud. We are singing aloud. So the past continuous will be, they were singing aloud. They were singing aloud. So the tenses are singing will change were singing. There is the use of the speech marks in the direct, and indirect there is no use of those speech marks. The third one, we have present perfect. Present perfect. I have sung. I have sung. Past perfect, he had sung. He had sung. I have sung, he had sung. The fourth one, present perfect continuous. Present perfect continuous. I have been singing. I have been singing. The past perfect continuous, he had been singing. He had been singing. So the difference is, I have been singing. Have changes to had. In the present perfect continuous, we use have been. In the past perfect, had been. Fifth sentence, past simple. Indirect, we have past perfect. I sang aloud. I sang aloud. Past perfect, he had sung aloud. He had sung aloud. The sixth sentence, past perfect. I had sung. I had sung. Then in the past perfect also will be he had sung. The seventh, past continuous tense. past continuous, and then we have past perfect. I was singing, he had sung. I was singing, he had sung. 8. Past perfect continuous. Past perfect continuous. I had been singing. I had been singing. Past perfect continuous. He had been singing. He had been singing. Number 9. All future tenses. All future tenses will changes to would. Will changes to would. Then in the all future tenses, we have said the word will change to would. I will be singing, will be singing. Then if you go to all future, in the past, in all future tenses, we will say he will be singing. He will be singing. You will play. He would play. So the difference is that in indirect speech we use will, but when it comes to indirect speech we use would. Let us look at example of sentences. Let us look at the example of candidates and how they change. Example 1, we are knitting now, said the girls. We are knitting now, said the girls. Direct speech. In indirect speech, the girls said they were knitting then. The girls said they were knitting then. The girls said they were knitting then. That is indirect speech. The third one, Mwita said. Mwita said, Chacha went home yesterday. That is direct speech. Mwita said, Chacha went home yesterday. In indirect speech, Mwita said that Chacha had gone home the previous day. Remember when we were looking at those words that change, if we are talking about today, those words changes to previous day, change to previous day in indirect speech. That's why we say Mwita said Chacha went home yesterday. That is direct speech. When you are changing it to indirect speech, it will be Mwita said that Chacha had gone home the previous day. So yesterday changes to previous day. Another sentence is will you add tea? Will you add tea? Mother asked Cherop. Will you add tea? Mother asked Cherop. That's direct speech. Will you add tea? Mother asked Cherop. So if you want to change that sentence into indirect speech, say Cherop asked her mother if she would add tea. Cherop asked her mother if she would add tea. So let us just try and look at the difference between sentence 5 and sentence 6. Will you add tea? That will change to will has changed to would. In sentence 3 and 4, we have Mwita, indirect speech, yesterday changing to previous day. Went changing to had gone. In the first and the second sentence, we have words that are changing. Are knitting now. Are and now are changing. When you are changing are and now, that is from direct speech to indirect speech will be are knitting, they will change to were. So after looking at those sentences, I hope that you've understood. And if you feel like there's an area you have not understood, I know it's a bit complicated, you will first try the exercise that I'm going to give. Then after that exercise, an area that you feel like you didn't understand, that's when you'll be free to ask. Remember, we said that when you are quoting a word, we just quote the spoken words from the speaker's mouth. You only quote words that come from the speaker's mouth. And when you are using the the speech marks, remember, after you opening the speech marks, the first letter should be in capital letters. The first letter should be in capital letters, close, and then the exclamation mark, question mark, comma, all those punctuation marks, they first come first, and then you close the question mark. So the exercise is there with you, but first I want you just to try exercise A, that is number 1 to number 12. You try first that one, you send it. After that is when you'll do again from number 13 to number 20. So I wish you all the best at home. Take care. May God bless you all as you enjoy your Ramadan. Thank you very much. Welcome.